Welcome to another episode of Adventure AI, a D&D podcast. I'm your host, Alex the Language Lord. In this episode, Jason, Tyler, Ian, and Juan will recap Season 3, The Tower of Sacrifice.
All right. Thank you, Alex, for that introduction. And we're here today to recap how Alex did on the Tower of Sacrifice. So we'll go around and talk about that a little bit. Just a reminder, I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Tyler. Tyler,
Hi.
how are you?
Yes, it's me, and this is another episode, which means I still have to do the plug. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. No, we're not on Facebook. TikTok. Share with your friends. Adventure AI or dndadventureai.com will take you to all of our links.
Perfect. Just go on a quest to find us.
Go on a quest to find us. I think we have a Discord, too, that technically up until now has only been people who've played with us.
Oh.
But we're probably just going to open it to listeners, too, if they want to come in and chime in and have some stuff.
If you want to play with us
idea.
on Discord, you're welcome.
Absolutely. We can play.
All right. And then we've, speaking of playing, we've got two players here, Eden and Juan. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for doing the Tower of Sacrifice with us. And,
Hello.
And almost being sacrificed in the tower.
Not cool, man. Not cool.
All right. Let's just talk general thoughts. I want to kind of get Eden. What was your thoughts on the adventure? What kind of stood out to you?
The main thing that stood out was that we survived.
Yeah. Good
For
job.
real.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main
Jason
one.
on this podcast has a history. Just kidding. It's only one other season, but he did kill the other players in that one. So
That's true. I think it was more Alex than me.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I did have one player death this time, though.
No, it's true.
Yeah, not bad.
That
Not
was
bad.
good. That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that too. I'm like, well, here it goes. We're gonna die.
Good. What about you, Juan? What stood out to you?
There's an aha moment and I missed it is what stood out. And I'm like, it's when you missed the one thing you said, we should have done that, and you didn't do it like more thoroughly, but it wasn't a big one. I was like, we should have investigated that area a little bit better, but whatever.
Yeah. So there was a magic item in the graveyard.
Yeah.
It was an amulet. It was actually a locket. It was Sarah's locket.
Oh.
And it gave a bonus to your spell casting ability.
Gotcha. Well,
and
in the long run though,
That
it was a
Glad
good
we
thing.
overlooked it.
It was a good
Yeah.
thing we didn't go to the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that would have gone to the sorcerer.
Yeah.
And that could have posed some problems
So
for you
maybe in
guys.
the long run, it was
Yeah.
good.
It even had a one time a day effect where any spell you cast did max damage.
Oh,
Whoa.
So
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
dang. That would have been
Yeah.
fantastic.
Fireball
Oh,
would have
dang.
knocked you guys out and your entire family. Too.
Yeah, what's interesting is Jason and I, we had a conversation about this. In the DM per episode, Jason and I actually sat together and we went through and had this backstory be created. And because he was like, I think we had this idea of maybe making you the baddie, right?
Okay, yeah.
And what was interesting about it was the backstory that we got for Simon to be the baddie was that he accidentally killed his family in a spell related, magically related. I don't remember if it was
It
fire
was
or
his
not,
wife and child in a
in a magic related incident.
Yeah.
I don't think it was. I can't.
It was a fit of passion.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't fire, right? And then when we were in the character creation episode,
Yeah. Didn't make it fire.
which by the way, Jason, for those of you who are listening to this podcast for the technical reasons, Jason started a completely different
new thread
inside
so
of ChatGPT.
It was a different Alex the Language Lord that we were working with.
So it wasn't even that we were in the same thread in which, so the way ChatGPT works is it's conversational, right? So it remembers everything that happens in that thread. And when you start a new thread, it's supposed to be, they're supposed to be not related to each other at all.
Right.
The only information that new thread had was what we read to you guys at the beginning before you created your characters.
Okay.
And so that was all the information this new thread had. It didn't know that any of the players were going to end up being betrayers, and they didn't know that.
It didn't know it knew about Simon, I think, because we had mentioned it, but not anything else aside from that he was anything about his family being killed, or I think maybe it did. Actually, no, I don't remember. Point is that it was a completely different thread. And then when we created my character, it gave him almost an identical backstory
Oh,
in terms of
gotcha.
family dying, right? But it was different members of the family. So, I mean,
That's why the grave ended up having
All those other extra people.
all those other extra
Okay.
people is because I took his backstory and put it into the graveyard and the paintings and other stuff
Gotcha.
as well. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Actually, while you were reading from his journal, I was like, wait a second. This sounds like Alden's backstory. And
Yeah.
And
I was like, okay, all right, similar.
I looked over at Tyler, and you were just like sitting there nonchalantly, and I second guessed myself. I was like, wait, did we have that backstory? like
we're all gaslighting you over
yeah.
here.
I just
That's so weird.
When was the moment where you're like, oh, Tyler's the bad guy? When did that happen?
naming Simon Alden.
So when you saw the portrait on the or the name below the painting.
I was in the books. I was like, no, it can't. It has to be like there's no like, you know, it's too much of a coincidence to not be this, you know,
right.
Simon not be Alden. Like it's even without the portrait, I'm like, yep. The portrait was just kind of like the stamp,
Right,
like
right,
100%. But like reading it, I'm like, oh.
How did that feel? Was that moment cool as a player to feel betrayed like that?
I mean, it was spooky. I would say
Yeah.
it's definitely like it was like okay, it definitely keeps you on your toes. Like okay, wait. That's why I was like, where am I standing in relationship to all of this? Is it gonna be like just an automatic like you are sacrificed type because you are in the type scenario? And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like Tyler was saying, there was a very specific backstory that was created, and then a second backstory. And so what I did is after we do the DM prep that we record, and then the character creation which we record, there's a second DM prep that we don't record, where we take all of the information from both and collide them together and make a story work for this specific group that's going on the adventure. And that's when stuff like the magic items were placed, right? The Willow getting a staff from those guardians, because I was like, these guardians or the tree people, they would have respect for Firbolg. And I thought that would just be a gift that would be given. And then I thought, and I did want a magic item for each character, right, going in, because I thought that final battle could use a little extra help.
Sure.
I was suspicious about the fire. I wasn't gonna lie. For like the first round, I was like, I don't know if I want to turn this on,
which is fine
because it's gonna this is gonna probably bite me in the butt because of the fire backstory.
Sure.
I'm like, I'm not gonna turn it on just yet. And then I was like, oh, let's just risk it and see what happens. But yeah, for sure, the first I was like, I don't know if this seems like a triggered.
Yeah, I really like the idea of like taking Alden's backstory of like this killing his parents and siblings with fire, and like putting all of his fire magic
like
out of
away,
sending it away, putting it into this object, and then locking it in the top of his tower in a cold room.
Hide his shame.
Yeah. So that was not part of the original DM prep, and something that Tyler information he didn't have access to.
I'm actually literally finding out about this right now, like right as we were playing is when I found out about what the whole thing was. I actually created my character with like Fireball as a spell, which if I had actually known that, I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have avoided it. Maybe Jason could have been like, you can do anything except for fire spells. It's because it's part of the lore. And I'd be like, okay, but you didn't talk too much about that. I mean, Eden, I am a little curious about you for what it was for you as a player with the aha moment when it happened.
It was just like the whole room felt very quiet. So it was just kind of like me just like jittering under my own skin. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is happening. Like, but like everyone else was just like super chill and cool. And so like, all right, hide your excitement.
Which hiding your excitement works great on a podcast.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
I also did like the kind of like, it was, I mean, because it was all happening at the same moment, even though we're doing the initiative really did help kind of like sediment that like this is happening in the same moment. So you're coming to these realizations at pretty much at the same time, just at different places. like you with the journal, you with the paintings, and it was like, oh, okay, and him doing it's like, oh gosh, we're about to be betrayed and we don't know, and they're like, yep, there, like, and we're finding, and they turn around like, yep, there it is, everything just came together.
Now, I've never been in a horror campaign before, and I've never run one before, so this was kind of my first experience in doing horror D&D. Have any of you ever had an experience in horror D&D before?
I've done a Halloween one shot.
Yeah.
Was it scary?
It was spooky.
Yeah.
I can't tell you details right now because
Okay.
I'm a very visual. Well,
gotcha.
I imagine really well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So like all the paintings were very visceral for me, just because like just imagining all of that, I was like, I'm not gonna sleep tonight.
Gotcha. Yep. No worries. I have played kind of like a Halloween one. It was a one shot as well. But it was kind of like based in the early 90s.
Sure.
Curse of Strahd type thing.
Gotcha.
So it was like, oh, we're a bunch of college kids. We're gonna go to Barovia and just hang out, and all of a sudden we're stuck in this world. But it wasn't like, it had some horror to it, but it wasn't like intense. So it was more comical than it was actually like, these moments are like really jarring.
Yeah.
This is really going on. But I mean, I don't know. I don't do too well with horrors either. Like I'm the like, oh, this movie's out. Should we go see it?
Yeah.
Like, are we going on a group? If the group is going, I'll go. Yeah, but I'm not doing this by myself. I'm not like, I'm not
driving.
Yeah, like, yeah.
It's interesting though. It's interesting even you saying like how the paintings were really visceral. Those were, Jason, you created that whole description of all those paintings was all Alex or no?
That was all Alex. So I described, I said I wanted a painting of Alex's, a portrait of his family. And so I think I said I wanted there to be hints of flame and fire in the one with his parents. And then it wrote a description. And then I also gave direction of not being able to see Simon's face. And then when it would write a description, I would respond, make it creepier.
Oh.
And did it like 2 or 3 times. And so it slowly got creepier and creepier.
Yeah, definitely did.
And I don't remember all of the things that, the prompts that I gave, but it was a collaboration for sure with me and the AI going back and forth, which the more you use AI, the more you realize it's not to answer the problems, it's a tool to work with.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah,
for sure. I would say not because, there's the immersion issue. The only issue to really set them at the scary was the text to speech sometimes, where it was like, oh, it's creepy, and I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, yeah, that, but the voice kind of like, all right. Yeah.
Anticlimactic.
Yeah. It's like,
it is a robot reading.
Yeah. And it definitely, especially if you're trying to grasp those moments 100%, you're like, you feel it like, yeah, this is just a robot reading.
Yeah. Which there could be, sure. As a DM, you kind of share in this podcast, you're sharing that role with Alex. And if we did that without any of Alex's voice in these, I think it would kind of defeat the purpose of what we're doing.
Oh no, for sure, 100%.
But I'm excited for text to speech to become better.
Yeah.
And honestly, we auditioned a lot of voices for Alex, and the voice we picked is pretty darn good, and way less robotic than a lot of stuff that we looked at, and yet it still is
it still feels you can't quite get the emotion that you need to. But I think the big takeaway for listeners and people who, if they play D&D or whatever, would be is that using AI to create these scripts for you and then you reading it out can actually really help enhance your game if you wanted to.
And I think if I was playing with a group of friends, I would read that.
For sure.
Yeah, that's the gimmick we've chosen.
No, and for sure it works for the podcast, right? Like we know what we're doing because of the text to speech voice. Like it gives it the life that the podcast needs. Yeah, it's that what's that word? Niche.
Yes.
The niche.
One of the things I wanted to also bring up is what Jason and I had a conversation before about how, and I think he said it during the game, was like, it is kind of a jerk move for us to be like, hey, come play D&D with us. And then it felt like, oh, now it's a 2v1. We now just totally bamboozled you. But what we did do was, the outcome was uncertain, right? So Jason had told me, he said, look, once you get in that room, you're on your own. is what he told me. He's like, so go ahead and do whatever it is that you're going to do. And I guess you had some other stuff prepped as well with
for sure,
Alex.
For sure. So a few things that we didn't hear is what would have happened if you guys died, right? So there was a prompt written out for that. And then I did suspect that Willow might use her staff inside the tower, and I had Alex write a description of what would happen to the tower if this giant tree grew inside the tower as well, and how that would get torn down. So there was I think so. You missed that. You missed your death, and you missed the finding the amulet. I think pretty much most of the other prompts were you guys made it to.
Can we hear what would happen if they died?
Yeah. Let's see what.
I'm also curious about the tree because that sounds really cool.
I know.
Well, let's listen to the one about me first.
Why does it have to be about you, Tyler?
I think this is a player, before you played that, but like a player flaw of just forgetting what things I had.
Oh, sure.
100%.
You know
it's
what?
like, oh wait, I have this emerald staff.
Yeah, and part of that is being in a one shot, right?
Right.
Where you're brand new with these characters. But you know
Yeah.
what? I've played with so many people before who are in a campaign and still forget what their character can do.
Yeah, it's because it takes 8 weeks for them to play again. That's why.
And to reschedule again. Okay, so this is Simon defeating you guys.
As Simon completes the ritual and the tower shakes, a blinding light fills the chamber of death. When it fades, Simon finds himself face to face with his wife and son, both of them resurrected and standing before him. For a moment, Simon feels overwhelming joy and relief. But then, he notices something strange in their eyes. There's a coldness there, a hunger. He begins to back away, but it's too late. They lunge at him, claws extended and teeth bared. Simon stumbles backward, his hands coming up in a futile attempt to defend himself. But his wife and son are too strong, too fast. They tear into him, ripping him apart with savage abandon. The last thing Simon sees is their twisted, undead faces, their eyes blazing with unholy fire. The tower begins to crumble and shake, and the sounds of screams and battle echo throughout the chambers. Finally, there's a deafening explosion, and everything goes dark. When the dust settles, the chamber of death is silent. Simon's body lies broken and torn on the ground, and his wife and son are nowhere to be found. All that remains is the Revenant Rock, glowing faintly in the darkness. The end. That, my friends, is another total party kill for Alex the Language.
I might have wrote that.
Wait. Okay, so it sounds like I was going to lose no matter what. Which is fine.
Yes, I actually had forgotten but now that it's played, I remember the whole point of the Revenant Rock was it was going to bring them back as revenants. Creatures of undead that seek after revenge, and so, yeah, Simon, your days were numbered.
My days were numbered regardless.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's interesting about did you have to back and forth with that too, or was that basically the almost entirely spat out from the?
No, there was some back and forth. I think I probably did a prompt describing that I would want his family to turn on him after that, and then just got the general description from there. So just a small minor prompt. So what it didn't do was decide that you would be killed.
Yeah,
right. That was me. That chose that. The description of how they killed you, that was Alex, and I probably did make it creepier, and I thought that was pretty creepy.
Yeah,
that hit the spot.
Yeah, that was nice. Had you guys died and then that happened, how would you feel about that?
Just desserts. I would have been fine.
I'm
good. I got betrayed, but he didn't get what he wanted at the end. I am good.
Yeah, I'm still processing the fact that I would have lost again, and it's just that also kind of would have sucked. I feel like next time I DM, I feel like I have to change the way I do it for Jason here, just a little bit more. He seems to go a little bit farther than me, but that's okay.
Well, here's something I was really worried. I really did not want Simon to win. I did not want to invite you two
Mm-hmm.
into here and be like, "Hey, come play with us," and then we're gonna kill you. And like it's it was poor sportsmanship, I thought. And so
Yeah.
I thought to take away that blow.
I mean, it would have been
We'd
all
have to do
fun
that.
games.
Yeah, sure.
I think it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Juan and Eden would be like, "Hey, would you like to join us on our podcast again?" And you'd be like,
Plus, I could have
You guys
like
are bullies.
thrown something at your characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have ways, so you would have been
You
fine.
can get back
Yeah.
to us in the
That's
campaign.
right.
That hurts more
"That's right."
for sure.
Yeah, let's hear what's going on. What happened with what happened with that tree?
As you raise your emerald staff, calling upon its magic to transform it into a towering tree, a brilliant green light radiates from it, illuminating the entire chamber. The rain outside intensifies, pattering harder and harder against the windows and the roof of the tower. The tree rapidly grows in size, its roots tearing through the stone floor of the chamber, shattering the altar and sending debris flying. The trunk widens, thickening with every passing second, until it fills the entire room, squeezing the air out of the space and causing the walls and ceiling to crack and groan. With a deafening roar, the entire tower begins to collapse in on itself, the floors above you giving way and plummeting downwards. The ghostly figures of Simon's family wail and moan as they're thrown around the room, tossed like rag dolls in the chaos. As the tree continues to grow, the entire tower is destroyed, reduced to rubble and ruin. The storm outside rages on, adding to the chaos and destruction. When the dust finally settles, you find yourselves standing amidst the ruins of the tower, with nothing but the rain and the wind for company.
All right. So then there would have been some damage rolls for the tower. It probably, depending on how deep into the fight, it could have killed everybody.
Yeah.
It most likely would have had been enough damage to kill the ghosts, which didn't have a lot of hit points to start with.
Sure.
And so it would have been kind of a if it didn't kill everybody, and there were opposite people on side still alive, it would have been a very short fight.
Yeah.
At that point. But
Okay.
yeah. Tell us, Eden, I know you had some desperate measures that you were thinking about taking. Tell us a little bit about what was going through your mind.
Oh, yeah. I was considering just disposing of myself.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Just like, oh, if I just dispose of myself and like botch my save throws, and even if I did come back to consciousness, I would try again. Then there would be no bodies to be resurrected into.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought I was willing to sacrifice myself
to prevent the resurrection.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, do you want to explain what the original, what Simon was originally going to do in the?
Oh, if I remember correctly, when we were during the DM prep, right, we had come to the thought of potentially still not revealing Simon, me being Simon, but that we had thought that I was going to attempt to try to convince you. I think what we were saying was that I was going to find out that I could bring this woman and child back to life. And then I was going to essentially like role play this idea of, oh, we can save them. Like we're here to do it, but I have to use the stone and you have to choose to die. That was our original conversation in the DM prep episode, was that I was going to present you with the opportunity, and then if you declined, then we would have initiated some sort of combat. But it was like I was going to be on your side up until the point that you had made a choice. Which is interesting to hear that you actually had considered it, even in a situation where you were never presented with the option that you had gotten to that. That's actually it was really interesting.
Yeah. But it different. Either way, you would have died. But one way it was to prevent the resurrection, and the other way it was to bring it about.
Yeah.
The motive was
the approach. Yeah, that's right. The approach and the motive was intended to be like, oh, this poor woman, this poor child was killed in an accident by Simon. We can use this device to bring them back. And then you being like, oh, the good person that you are, would you be willing to sacrifice your life to save a child who had died prematurely, essentially, was the moral quandary that we were trying to create when we were having the conversation. But, just like anything, when you prepare, and I think one of the things we found very often with this AI is as you start to feed more stuff that it doesn't always initially go in the direction that you had thought. So, yeah.
And considering how my character cried over the flowers
Yeah.
than the dead people under the ground. Like, it's just like, it probably would not have, it's like, I don't care.
True. It was like, oh, well,
Too bad.
me? No. Circle of life, baby.
No.
That's normal. Yeah. So that's funny. A very interesting point to see how that kind of came about.
Yeah. So overall, what would you guys say about Alex's ability to create a compelling one-shot for you guys to go on an adventure?
I thought it was pretty compelling. Yeah.
Yeah. What just kind of this is your first time playing with an AI,
Mm-hmm.
right? How well did it do versus what you thought it would do?
I imagine it spat out those riddles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those were, like you were saying earlier, how it would be more of a partner in creation rather than like taking over your role completely. And I thought it did a great job as an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It set the scenes pretty well, and all of that. And I don't know if this is an issue with AI or just like reading out riddles or whatever.
Sure.
Like I had to chat in the Discord, like please paste that into
Right,
the riddles into the chat because I need to actually read it in
Yeah.
order to see it. So yeah.
So I will say, speaking of the riddles real quick, and then we'll get to Juan on that. Here's my philosophy on riddles is if they're close enough, they work, right? For example, so you actually got the first riddle wrong.
Oh.
That was not grief.
Was it, wait, hold on. Don't tell me. I had a different idea than what you said.
Yeah.
And I think that, honestly,
Well,
I had no, what did you say?
I thought it was memory. Like I was like,
Memory.
memory sounds like what it could be, but all right.
I think what I thought it was regret.
It was regret.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay, see,
nice.
that's what I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was. But
Let me look at that
because I
again.
already knew that Jason and I were in cahoots, and this is again one of those points where Jason told me that there was going to be clues throughout the whole thing, and when the eye said, "Oh, I can't see very well," is that you, Simon?
Yeah.
I thought, oh crap, I didn't know that was going to happen. I thought my cover was blown then,
Yeah.
but I was like, oh, we're going to trick it. And you guys are all like, yeah, we're going to trick it. And then we did. And I was like, okay. And from my perspective, I was like, well, Jason was going to make it work no matter what, because anything that I said, maybe.
No.
Maybe not, but
So yeah, a couple things. One, I thought that introduction was a good like foreshadowing.
okay.
A little bit. So there's a little bit of foreshadowing there, and there wasn't enough information to think that was Simon.
No,
Yeah.
there wasn't.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know that Simon was going to go to the door by himself as well, right? So it could have
Yes,
been any
that's
one
true.
of you in the same interaction would have happened.
Mm.
But like I think players love the chance to trick and deceive and to get past and
Yeah.
fool, and so it kind of set up the thing.
Oh, funny.
So it was foreshadowing. I could see how you would be sweating.
Well, because, from my perspective, I didn't know that was the case.
Simon, is that you?
No,
it's not me.
And for me, it was like and of course, I had more information than you. So I think from the player perspective, like you just kind of glossed over it because it was like a minute detail that you would think of.
Yeah.
For me, it was like this huge
Yeah.
spotlight. There he is. It's Simon right there.
right there.
And I'm like, do they notice?
Yeah. So getting back to the regret, though.
Yes, okay.
I think D&D gets very boring if it's guess what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
right? And so if it was an obvious wrong answer, right? Then you guys could have been stuck there for a while, and that also would have been boring, right?
Sure.
I would have made up some sort of consequence or something, and then maybe we would have had to hack the door down or whatever it was, right? There would have been a way past. But I think generally, as long as it works, and grief worked,
It
right?
did. Yeah, I think it was a great guess.
It doesn't work as good as regret, only because that's what I asked Alex to write a thing about was regret. But yeah, I think being a stickler.
so
on
you
that,
reverse in engineered the riddle. You said, "Here's the answer. Give me a riddle."
Give me a riddle about regret.
About regret.
Give me a riddle about fire.
Which I totally knew was the answer. You know, I was just like involving everyone else because it's a collaborative game, everyone. So you have to be collaborative. So when you hear that, when we're like, why doesn't he answer the riddle? I wanted to make sure that everyone playing gets their moment in the spotlight because as a DM, I know how important that is. Right. Everyone having the spotlight.
Yes. Juan, okay, so tell us about your thoughts of the AI and how it did.
I definitely as a tool, it's pretty good and nifty. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of back end that we obviously don't see as the prep thing. I would assume that you have to feed it information and then give out information, and I bet that can be contradictory. And you're like, well, that's not what I said. And then it spits you a whole new lore, and you're like, why am I using you?
Right.
So, but aside from that, like just for like a quick in the moment tool, it's fine. I do not like using it as a player, though. I realize.
Okay, so you tried it with the riddle,
exactly
with the
because it's just so hard to like find a moment where it can organically fit into the situation, and especially in this scenario when we're going so fast paced.
Sure,
it's like no, I can, but I don't. You know, the pacing. I don't want to make. I got to make sure the pacing is fine.
Yeah, so you're thinking like real time use was difficult for you.
Yeah, but like if it, I mean, obviously in this scenario it's fine, but like if you're like in a at home game, like which I think you've done before with playing Piper, where you've like just pulled out like a song or something.
Right.
It's fine, right? Because I mean, everybody's gonna wait for it. Everybody's okay to wait for it because everyone's there playing there to have fun. But here's like with the like having to kind of be a little bit on task with it being in one shot. You're like, well, now I have to wait for it to spill, and then it just in that essence, it's a little like
I actually had an easier time playing Stillwater, reading Proverbs. On the podcast than I did playing Piper in our home game.
Oh, really?
Where I was reading songs or rhymes or whatever it was. But I think that was just being in the zone and really like Stillwater was a character that was always inserting his voice.
Yes.
Right.
He's like
always
inserting
insertion.
For those of you who don't know, Stillwater's from season 2, right?
Yeah, Stillwater's from season 2. One of the funnest characters I've ever played. And it was just but part of playing that too, I wasn't in a mystery campaign, right? Like you guys were. I was not paying attention to anything that whole game. I was just asking for prompts and spitting them out.
Gotcha.
And going and spitting them out. And
yeah, because it became hard. Like, okay, we're talking about this. Let me try to real quick. I'm like, oh, we've moved on. So it's like we've moved on. I don't want to like go back. We've moved on.
Hey, remember that forest we're in? Can I just laugh about it?
Seriously, like I have one like, hey, give me. I wrote several actually. Let me like just give you like the forest one. Give me a rap about living trees, allowing me to passage through. He's like, yeah, sure. Listen up, my wooden friends. I know we're strangers, but let's make amends. We're on a mission. We're in a rush. We need to pass through and don't make a fuss. So it's like, so I did it, but like by the time we would go through these things, it would be like, oh, we already like. I'm like, I'm not gonna,
that's some pretty sick licks, though.
I know, they are. So like, I did that. I was like, oh, give me one about the tower, man. Give me one about the graveyard, the Raven family. So I tried, but like I said, the pacing of the story made it really hard to try to insert it.
For sure.
Like try. I even know, like, give me one about the flaming sword. But yeah.
Talk to me about your characters. Usually when you play D&D, you aren't forced to play a specific race and class and a backstory made up by somebody else. What was that like for you as a player, just being on this show and having all that, where you got to work with it a little bit, but also some of the choices were taken away from you?
I forgot I had a weapon. Like the chime magical item didn't even pull it out once, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. Like, sorry, but I think. I mean, I think it was sometimes it's just fun, like not having to 100% have to think about something.
Right.
Because you want to you want to give your character some personality, and sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I can grab a pre-gen. No, I also want to put some work in it. So it's nice having that 50-50 where you're like, oh yeah, I can work with this. I can make it better. I don't have to obviously stick to what they're saying. But like you said, it's like, oh, now I have to learn how to play a bard that fights and fight with a fighter, and I've never done this class. Why did I choose this? You run into those like, how does this work?
Interesting.
What about you, Eden?
Yeah, I liked getting out of my comfort zone. Like I had never heard of a furl
Fur blogs?
Fur blogs.
They're the
Furbolg?
best.
Furbolg.
Furbolg.
That was my first character. It just holds such a special place.
So, and I like that, like, during the character creation episode, I thought you did have to take everything that Alex gave you, but then I noticed how, like, Tyler kept on asking for a rewrite of something. So, yeah, again, like, going back to the assistance part of it, of just like, okay, that was a cool thing that you produced for me, but I actually want to go a different direction with that.
Yeah. In fact, that was our original concept for the show, is whatever Alex gave.
Yeah.
First time, that's what you take, that's what you go with. And it didn't take long for us to go, yeah, you can do better.
Yeah.
And why not? Like, we made up these rules, we can change the rules. So
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We asked Alex to make up some rules for. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, with how those weapons work sometimes, yeah, maybe.
You know, some of the weapons that we get created out of there and the magic features, functionality, whatever, they can get a little
overpowered.
Yeah, they get a little overpowered because you don't get to tell it what level you are. You don't get to like balance it out to be like, ooh, is this too much? Is this too little? But that was really our original approach, Jason and I. We had thought, let's just make the AI create the whole story, and it doesn't matter if it sucks. We'll just like run through it, and it'll be funny. But some of it was just like not cohesive enough to be entertaining, right? So we're like, okay, that's not working. But with a little bit of massaging, we've actually found that we can get, over the last 3 seasons or so, some pretty interesting campaign ideas, or at least encounters that are similar to things I've done in the past, but also very different, right?
Yeah.
So how much time do you guys spend with?
That's a great question.
With good old Alex the Language Lord. Like, what is the usual, like, let's brain shop this with Alex works with you guys?
Our DM prep that we do before the character creation, I think those edit down to about an hour, and we edit about a third of it out. So it's like an hour and a half or whatever.
Okay.
Is normally what it takes to do that.
So to be clear on that is like the initial concept of the core piece of what the one shot is going to be. We get from a sliver of an idea of just like, oh, I want, like Jason's was. What was yours for?
For Eternum, I wanted Alex the Language Lord to be the big bad.
That's what he started with. Mine was I wanted for season 2 was I wanted a campaign based off of the movie Fight Club.
Right.
And then ours for this one was
I want a player to end up betray the party and be the bad guy.
So that's with that starting prompt. It takes us about an hour to go from prompt to the story created, the skeleton of the story, right? The skeleton of the story. And I think that what Jason has done and the way that we've done it is being able to like have the character creation and then come back to it.
Right.
Is from what we've seen integral to like really making the difference between turning a boring skeleton into something that is more tangible experience related to each of us in a way that makes more sense. And how much time do you usually put into that?
I enjoy that part.
Yeah.
So more time.
I think Jason puts more time than I do. For sure.
But I was having fun. I really had a blast, like with the paintings and the journals. Right. That was my favorite moment. And I was like I just wanted more. I was like, do this, do that, and what else could we have in these things? Well, let's do magic items. Well, let's put the magic item on the top. And then honestly, like I had to create a magic item. It created this flame blade for Kaylin. And then I was like, flame blade, how does that fit into the story? So I had to like,
you put the pieces.
I kind of put the pieces together. It was like, it gave me all the Legos and I built a ship out of it or whatever.
Yeah. And I guess to answer your question, Juan, for me, like I do less of that building that Jason does, where I try to more explicitly like force the AI to come to conclusions and decisions for me.
Okay.
And I think that it's more of an experiment on my side that I'm like trying to just see where I can take it.
You're trying to push the boundaries of it.
Yeah, Jason's approach is like, hey, let's take these pieces, and he adds his creativity and tries to like smash into something, and then tells it, hey, here's what I've decided. Now take this.
Right.
And mine is more like, I want to see how creative you can be without with as little as explicit direction from me as possible.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you take the more technical approach.
Yeah, maybe.
And then you take the more creative approach. Is
How
that
did that happen?
is that kind of how this works?
Yeah.
Or am I just shooting in the
It
dark?
feels that way.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I mean, part of it, like that Jason and I have talked about, is like taking those pieces and learning from it. And I feel like we've learned a little bit every single season that we've gone. We've just learned a little bit more on how to like make it work better for us, or what we can do to make it work. What some people don't actually know is the first 2 seasons, season 1 and season 2, we recorded our DM prep episodes simultaneously, independent of each other. So he did it and I did it basically on the same week, and we didn't really even listen to the other person's, knowing like how it was going to go through or what we were going to do. We just kind of ran with it. So I think that's a great question though, Juan. Like how we do that and how much time it takes. So I think, as you were saying, Eden, it being a tool, I think it does 2 things. That one, it can very significantly speed up the process for creating environments, situations, and really adding to some degree a level of depth that some DMs have a difficult time doing. And I think for like people like Jason who have that creativity, it like helps them very like even more quickly get to a point where they can put these things together. And for people like me who, not that I'm not creative, but maybe somebody who isn't creative, right, can get that stuff kind of like handed to them and make them feel like that they're adding a layer of depth that may have been what they believe to be outside of their level of creativity, right? Which, I don't believe that it's outside of their realm, but some people think that is. And
as a DM, like I think of myself when I DM as one of the players, and the enjoyment I get is the story that's being
for
told,
real. I mean, it's definitely what it is. Yeah,
and your prep is part of your playing, right?
Yeah.
That's the time where
It's
you're world
true.
building, and it can be a lonely part of D&D
Yes,
as well, right?
it is.
And what I found is when I've got Alex there to bounce ideas off of, it becomes more collaborative than it normally is.
Yeah.
And that kind of collaboration and creativity just sucks me in. I could spend forever just, having 100 rooms in this tower and creating all this stuff and not caring whether we ever played the game or not, because I already had.
Because you had the outlet of it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Because there is that kind of like, especially when you're a DM, that like a little sadness of like, this was really cool, but you guys just didn't care how cool it was. But no sweat. I spent like 2 hours thinking about this, and you guys just solved this tree puzzle in like a minute, and didn't think the trees were cool. But all right,
It's no big deal.
Or didn't even explore the graves. Or
Didn't
anything
explore
like
the
that.
graves. Yeah, like
There's stuff in the graveyard, you guys.
there's stuff there. Yeah.
It's funny about you mentioned that though, because I felt like knowing that there was information, I was playing it on the side of like, no. You guys don't want to see what's going on over there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
don't look into that. Right. Which is funny because it was my stuff and it would have been my magic item, but it was interesting to be of that approach of like, no, I'm just gonna get through the door. Come on, guys, everybody over here. Everybody just avoid those tombstones that have the names of my family on it, because you might figure it out if you think about it long enough.
No, for sure. I definitely, if we would have, like I said, if we would have spent more time in that graveyard, I feel like there would have been like a little bit red.
There was cool stuff.
There would have been light bulbs. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
There would have been more like less subtle clues about like, okay, wait.
I would have got these weird sidelong looks, and when we got to the tower, you would have been like, "How about you go, Alden?" Yeah. So, anyway, any last final comments or anything that we didn't talk about? You guys wanted to add?
No, this is super cool.
I mean, it was super fun. I don't know if I would play a bard again.
Oh, okay.
with ChatGPT by my side, but I'm by myself probably, maybe. But
Yeah.
it was it's I don't know, it's good because it's a one shot, but the always like, oh, this is a new character kind of trying to, even if you had like the years of playing, like what is a fighter, right? You would think the most basic character in the game, like what does a fighter do? But I was really like, what is a fight? What? This seems so simple.
Yeah.
But why can't I throw a spell? Okay, right, because I didn't choose that.
Yeah, because it seems like most players, when they play, they have like 2 or 3 classes that they go to. Like these are my classes, these are my races, this is what I play. I'm good at this. I understand these roles, and I can fulfill these roles. and this podcast pushes our players outside of
the comfort zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I for sure did. I mean, I usually nothing martial.
Yeah.
Like it's not that I don't like it. I just like spells more.
Yeah.
Martials are fine. I just like spell more. Even when I'm like do a cleric, like no spell, spiritual weapon.
Yep.
Yeah, over there. I'm over here.
Yeah, that's fair. I get that. Next time, then you'll just have to ask the right questions to
Yeah,
ask.
I'll just be
Notice create my character that does not
Some
use...
things you probably didn't notice is when Tyler was creating his character and character creation. It's like, I think I want to play like a spellcaster of some sort, maybe a wizard or something like that.
I did, and that was intentional because it was required for the story.
Yeah, we're going to be a wizard.
throwing your. Is there a lich?
Is there a
Is there a lich?
I did like that line. Do you think Simon's a lich?
Simon's a lich.
He's got to be around here somewhere.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Diversion.
something's watching us. You're watching us.
Someone, he might be watching us the whole time. Yeah, I'm right here. I'm just sitting right next to you.
Awesome. Thanks. Eden, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, this was totally fun. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
thanks.
I hope to make another one. In the
Another
future.
appearance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I come back?
Yeah,
We'll
for
see.
sure.
We'll see for both of you. We're gonna roll some dice. No.
Let's see.
I realized also I forgot my catchphrase. What was my catchphrase? Did I ever have one?
Yeah. What was your catchphrase?
Like I was like, because you were so great with your catchphrase that I was like, I don't know what my catchphrase is, and I
Yeah,
don't.
I
And then I'm
actually
like,
don't
I don't think I made one. And
No, I'm pretty sure we gave everyone a catchphrase. That's actually, it's funny though, because that was one of the things that Jason and I talked about, and I wonder how much we're going to keep using it, because we find that we give the catchphrases, and then it's like 50-50 on whether or not they make it into the episode.
It almost you almost need like, I need like a life motto, something that I live by.
Sure.
And that's, you already have that in the D&D creation.
Right.
Backstory, or the, what are they called? The
flaws, bonds, all
bonds,
that.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get similar stuff in there, but it would be nice to get something specific for a character that gets generated. All right, Tyler, any last thoughts from you?
No, just like and subscribe. No, I'm just,
Hit the smash button.
smash that like button.
Like that smash button.
Like
that
that
smash button.
Smash that share button. No, I don't think that. Again, we appreciate you both coming out. I know that it is for people who've never been on a podcast before. It's always a little bit scary to get on the podcast and know that your voice is going to be out there. But we appreciate people joining us.
I didn't even think about it. Thanks.
Yeah, don't worry, Juan. No one's gonna. Somebody might just take your voice and train another AI bot to be able to use it and call into your bank and then get your account and steal all your information by training AI on it. But don't worry about it. It's unlikely. All right.
Hey, thanks everyone for joining us on another adventure. We'll catch you next time in season 4 of Adventure AI.
We hope you enjoyed season 3 of Adventure AI, The Tower of Sacrifice. I'll be cooking up a new adventure in season 4 for you. Now go find a like button somewhere and smash it.